Hello, everybody. The views and opinions expressed in this episode of the Back of the Pack podcast are simply those and solely those of that of the host and may not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the rest of the people who work on Back of the Pack or OKKC Sports in general. With that out of the way, greetings and salutations, everyone. Welcome to the Back of the Pack podcast. My name is Kyle Walker. My pleasure to be here as always. We are brought to you by OKKC Sports. And hey, happy 4th of July. On the day I'm recording this, it is the 4th of July. Happy birthday, America. You old bird, you've never looked better. Maybe that's true, maybe it's not, but she still looks good. She always looks good. So anyway, another weekend done. The races are finished and over. We had a 2-race weekend on Sunday and today on Monday, the 4th of July. On Sunday, we ran the Stars and Stripes 5K in Overland Park, Kansas. Fun course, definitely a course I've done before. Nice medal. Kansas City Running Company, they run that race, and they always put a good medal out for that one. Good medal, good race, humid. Oh my goodness, I don't remember the last time I have run on such a steamy and humid morning. Oh my goodness. By mile 1, I was just drenched. I was just dripping sweat all over the course. You know, I wear a headband, as if you've seen any of our pictures, you've seen the headband. Oh man, that thing was soaked through. The sweat was pouring into my eyes. And of course that stings. And oh my goodness, it was so steamy. I thought there is no way we can have that problem on back-to-back days. Well, let's go ahead and move forward 24 hours. And we run the Ward Parkway 4 on the 4th, which is a 4-miler. And oh my goodness, it was so hot. It was so steamy. And by the first mile, I was sweating profusely and my headband was sweat through. And it was a terrible, tragic tale of woe. But anyway, both of them were really fun races, as they are every year. I really enjoy the patriotically themed races. That's kind of right in my wheelhouse. If you guys didn't know me before the podcast stuff, a lot of people had nicknamed me the Flag Guy, because I always ran in uber patriotic gear, flag shirt, flag shorts, flag socks, flag headband, flag wristbands, all that good stuff. Again, I am pretty unapologetically. Boy, you try saying that after you've run 7 miles in 2 days. You probably would still say it better than me. But I'm very patriotic, always have been. 2 American flag tattoos on various parts of my body. And so yeah, these are right in my wheelhouse. But a good morning, good 2 mornings in a row. It was great to see a lot of the folks out there. Saw William from Hope on the Hill. He was on the podcast a few weeks ago. Saw him a couple times. We saw our buddy Mark. Let's see, saw an old high school friend of mine, Evan. I know another high school guy, Jason's been out there running. So yeah, it was good to see everybody. Really good to see you. I know I'm leaving people out, but again, saw a lot of people, a lot of listeners of the show, which I love, and it's great. So this is really the official beginning. Today was the official beginning of the Berlin training for me. And I've got it as a 12-week program. So a 12-week program for Berlin. It is underway. Today was day 1. Let me just see here. I'm going to try and bring it up so I can kind of show you guys what it is that I'm doing here. And now, of course, my computer just wants to be a pain. Because, well, that's how things work when you're actually trying to, do something productive. But you can find it. We've got the Berlin training schedule out there. So here's what we're looking at. So today being the 4th of July, I did 4 miles, only scheduled for 3. Need to get out there and do 3 more tomorrow. Wednesday is a rest day. And of course, we've talked about rest days before. Rest days are important. 5 miles on Thursday, 3 miles on Friday. And now this is going to be weird. Now, Saturday is supposed to be a rest day because I had this set up because the Berlin Marathon is on Sunday. So Sundays are supposed to be the days of your long runs. But this week I've got to adjust. And we've talked about this before. Being able to adjust your training is critical because there are going to be days where you can't get in a run. You got to figure out some other way to get things done. So Saturday coming up, I've got a 10K, the Law Dog 10K out in Gardner, Kansas. Hopefully we'll see you out there. But I'm supposed to run 10 miles on Sunday. So what I think I'm going to do, just to try and vary things up a little bit, is do the 6 miles, the 10K on Saturday, and then do 4 more on Sunday. And hopefully that will be adequate for this first week of training. So we're going to have a graphic out there. You're going to be able to see the training that we're going to be attempting to do. Again, off to a good start. Scheduled 3 miles today, ended up running 4 thanks to the race. So we're off and running, heading towards Berlin. Now, one of the things that we're going to talk about today, and again, you heard the little disclaimer at the beginning of the show. I know you heard it because I just said it. I'm thinking about, kind of the lessons that we learn from races. And since today was a 4-mile race, I had a little extra time on the course. I certainly wasn't running my best race by any stretch of the imagination. So I had plenty of time in my own head trying to think of, what do I want to talk about on this week's episode? What should we try and relay? And what I came up with is kind of the lessons that running teaches us. And we're going to bring it around to a few different things. With this being the holiday and just kind of the state of the country in general right now, I thought lessons would be kind of a cool way to go. So I found this article. And of course, these are the folks in Runner's World who are always great. And they've got 20 lessons that you can learn from running. And I like these. And number one, the first one, patience pays off. Boy, isn't that the truth? Whether you're doing a 16-week program, a 14-week, a 12-week, or even a 10-week, you have to be patient when training. And you have to be patient waiting for race day, especially if you're looking forward to a full marathon or a big monumental race, maybe your first half, and you know it's staring at you on the calendar, but it can still seem so far away. But patience pays off. So what do you call an impatient runner? Injured is what they say. New runners who let their excitement get the better of them almost always end up hurt or burned out or both. The same goes for veteran runners who decide the best way to return from a layoff is to catch up by doubling their usual mileage. Patience means having the discipline to delay gratification, to have a plan and to stick to it, to pace yourself. Running strengthens this discipline just as it strengthens our bodies. Okay, number two. Strength comes in many forms. Lots of people equate strength with big, visible muscles, but runners are some of the strongest people I've ever met, and many are pencil thin. Others are big, but not muscular. Others look so average they could be stock photo models for the guy or girl next door. Runners learn quickly that appearances don't mean a thing because true strength comes from within. True strength, in essence, means refusing to give up. By this definition, we're all capable of great strength. So that was number two. Strength comes in many forms. Number three, there's value in consistency. I'm not going to read all of these to you. You can find the article if you so desire, but I think they're good. Number four, I think we've mentioned this before. You get out what you put in. And this one I will read. It says, I often hear the question, how little can I train and still be able to finish a marathon? Well, I'll be real honest with y'all. I've never heard that one. I guess I understand the logic, but I think we all know that that's kind of a ridiculous question. And recently someone asked me that, and I'm not making this up. Is it possible to train for a marathon if I run only one day a week? Whew. His response, possible? Possibly. Advisable? No. I've never understood why anyone would want to run a marathon without properly training for it. Best case, they finish eventually, but have an awful time en route. Worst case, they get hurt, but this attitude is common and not just among wannabe marathoners. Lots of people want something for nothing. Running doesn't work that way. And here's the biggest lesson. Neither does life. So yeah, you definitely get out of running what you put into it. Number five, growth happens outside of your comfort zone. Yeah, we've talked about that one before, and that's absolutely correct. Number six, run with the finish line in mind. Here's a thought familiar to anyone who's ever run a marathon. Why the hell am I doing this? It can happen not just during the race itself, but during a tough training session or a long run or while sitting in an ice bath. Why, for God's sake, why? There's always an answer, even if you momentarily lose sight of it. Something made you want to do this. Something is waiting for you at the finish line. Redemption, vindication, self-confidence, or beer. Whatever it is, keep in mind, especially when things get tough, because when you lose sight of your ultimate goal, you can no longer answer that all-important question of why am I doing this? Things can get very bleak very quickly. Number seven, savor the mile you're in. Okay, I get that. Just when you're out there, enjoy each mile as it comes, because if you're at mile number one and your goal is 20 and you're just worried about 20, well, then those other 19 are really going to suck. Number eight, without the lows, the highs wouldn't feel nearly as good. Some runs are bad, some are good, a few are great, especially when you contrast them with the bad. It's easier to shake off a bad run when I remember that I've had plenty of great runs in the past. Terrible races make the good ones that much sweeter. Running is a series of peaks and valleys, so is life, and that's okay. Actually, it's more than okay, it's necessary. Number 9, if you're not careful, grooves can become ruts, and ruts lead straight to boredom and burnout. They say it's tempting to find something that works, and I repeat it over and over. But sooner or later, that sameness becomes stultifying. Find new ways to challenge your muscles, mind, and expectations. This is how you grow. I honestly struggle with this one a lot because I get my normal routes, whether it be I want to do some track work or I'm running around the house, and those sidewalks and those roads and those trails and that view can get really old really fast. So definitely make sure you're doing things to kind of mix up your training and keep your mind interested while your body is going through the torture of marathon training or whatever you're training for. All right, number 10, the first step is the hardest. Yep, that's always for sure. I've always heard and said the most difficult step of a run is the first one out the door. You got to get up, you got to get your running shoes on, you got to get dressed, you got to drink your coffee, or you got to hit the john. But that first step out the front door is the toughest one. Number 11, set your own pace. There's a big temptation when you're running in a group to keep up. Even if the pace picks up and you find yourself going much faster than you want or need on a particular day, this is natural. But mindlessly following someone else's lead is dangerous. You worry about you, let everyone else do their thing. I'm sure this pertains to training runs, and I'm not a big group training run person, but this is 100% for me in races. And it's not that I'm ever out there competing with other people like, oh, I want to beat this guy, or oh, I need to beat that lady. No, it's the pacers. I might start with a pacer and I might think, oh, I really need to keep up with them even as they start to pull away. Or I'll have a pacer from a pace group behind me eventually pass me, and I think, oh, well, I can't lose to whatever, however you justify it in your mind. It's dangerous. Never try and get in competition with someone else on a race course. This is your race, and you run your race how you see fit. Now, if you get the motivation out of doing that, out of following that pacer or making sure you stay 3 steps in front of them, okay, do your thing. But I know for me personally, this is a great way to basically just to go out too fast, too hard, and flame out at the end. Take that for what it's worth. Number 12, you got to have faith. And this guy says, in my younger, more cynical days, I believe that faith is believing in something that you know isn't true. Ooh, boy, I've never heard that one before, but yikes. I first saw that quote in Paul Thoreau's novel, The Mosquito Coast, though Mark Twain wrote something similar much earlier, and he used ain't, not isn't. My philosophy now is simpler. Faith is believing. This is just as true when signing up for your first race as it is when deciding to leave your steady job and pursue a passion, or to pack up and move to a new city. After a certain point, you've made your decision and prepared as much as you can. All that's left is to take a deep breath and step into the unknown. Okay, so there you go. That's what he says about having faith. Number 13, experience trumps stuff. Yep, that's for sure. You can go out and buy the most expensive pair of running shoes, but if you're not training, if you haven't done races, if you don't know what you're doing, you could definitely struggle. You could definitely fall into a pit. Like, what is the number one biggest mistake one can make during a race? At least in my opinion, what I hear the most, what I see the most, you go out too fast. You can go out too fast and completely burn yourself out wearing Nike's latest Vapor run shoe. It doesn't matter. The shoe is not going to suddenly improve your stamina. The shoe is not going to put the training miles on your body. And the shoe is not going to say, hey, you're really blowing your pace right now. Slow down. Equipment's not going to do that. So experience is where it's at. Number 14. I'm going to read all of this one. Talking really helps. It says, I'm an introvert, not very good at having conversations or even making the most insignificant of small talk until I'm running with others. Then you can't shut me up. It's amazing how easy it can be to talk when you're on a run. The very act of running, the high heart rate, the perspiration. Whew, boy, how could I struggle with that word? I was doing that all weekend. Well, that's a brain block right there. I was perspiring all weekend, almost expiring. So anyway, let me start that one over. The high heart rate, the perspiration, and the endorphins can be sort of a social lubricant, like beer, but without the hangover. And it's easier to talk when you aren't looking someone in the eye, feeling self-conscious, and reacting to facial expression and body language. Thoughts just pour out. Running helped me learn to open up even when I'm not running, which my wife will tell you is amazing progress. Yeah, I've never thought of that. If you are running with someone, theoretically, you both are looking ahead, you're running side by side, you're not seeing body language, you're not making eye contact, there is no visual cues, it's just talk. That's interesting. I find that to be quite fascinating. Now, when I've come across people on the course, I try and look at them. Now, that's going to be a great way someday for me to hit a pothole and break my ankle, but I still turn my head. But I'm liking this idea. If you're just out with a friend and you guys are out on a run, yeah, 99% of the time, your head's going to be straight ahead watching where you're going. That could make conversation a little easier. That's interesting. See, look, we're all learning something new. Number 15, the richest rewards are seldom immediate. Yeah, we know that one. Number 16, it's okay to be scared. At race expos, first-time marathoners will tell me they're nervous about the race. My response is always the same. If you weren't nervous, I'd be nervous. They laugh nervously, but the message is sincere. Nervousness is natural and healthy as long as you don't let it consume you. Anxiety is a normal byproduct of facing a big challenge. Welcome it, then take it for a run. There we go. And I think this is true. I don't know if I'm nervous at a lot of start lines. Nervous isn't the right word, but there's certainly an anticipation. There's an excitement. It's not nervous, especially for something like a 5K, of which I've done quite a few. Now, you want to put me in a full marathon line, you can bet those butterflies in my stomach are pterodactyls. I'm nervous. It's an excited nervous, but it's nervous nonetheless. Number 17, confidence is good. Hubris is not. If you're not careful, self-assurance can morph into arrogance. The former will serve you well as a runner, but be assured the latter will be your undoing. We are stronger than we think, but we all have our limits. Fair enough. Number 18, this is a no-duh. Sometimes things go wrong. I'm not going to read all that. You know it's true. Sometimes you have a bad race. Sometimes the knee is a little wonky. Sometimes your training's not what you wanted it to be. Sometimes you just can't find the rhythm of your breathing. Whatever it is, sometimes things go wrong. You live with it. You learn from it. You do better the next time. Number 19, just keep moving forward. And then number 20, if you wait until you really need a toilet, you've waited too long. If you learn nothing else from this article, learn this. There we go. If you wait until you really need a toilet, you've waited too long. So that is just 20 lessons that this particular runner from Runner's World has learned. This is kind of where I want to go with this. So I was trying to think while I was running today, what have I learned? What I've learned in just the way I'm going to equate it today. And yes, I'm going to try and choose my words carefully. Of course, I'm not trying to piss anybody off. I'm really not. But as I said at the start of the show, I'm pretty unapologetic, patriotic person. So today being the 4th of July, I saw a friend of mine post on Facebook, and she said, what does the 4th of July mean to you? I know that she posted this simply due to the strife going on in the country right now. There are a lot of things going wrong. Things just aren't quite what they used to be. There's a lot of turmoil. There's a lot of division. And it doesn't matter to me which side you're on. You have your beliefs, I have mine. You have your opinions, I have mine. You see things the way you see them. I see things the way I see them. And that's fine. That's okay with me. So when I saw her ask, what does the 4th of July mean to you? Of course, I take the very patriotic answer, the birth of our nation, the founding of what I think is the greatest country in the world. And then I kept thinking about this as I was running along. And I know that not everyone feels this way anymore. A lot of people don't feel that we're the greatest country. A lot of people feel that our problems have outweighed, the great things about us. And so I was thinking, this country is a lot, or at least the way I'd like to see it, this country is a lot like a race. It is. And we're just, whatever race. This country can be a 5K. The country can be a 10K. This country can be a half marathon, and this country can be a full. And again, you may not agree with this. This is how I see it. I'm allowed to see things the way I want to see it, and I'm just going to explain the way I see it. This country is like a marathon. The marathon doesn't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. The marathon doesn't care if you are white or black or anywhere else, from anywhere else. The marathon doesn't care if you're pro-life or pro-choice, The marathon doesn't care if you wear a mask or you don't. The marathon doesn't care about all these things that have divided us for so long now. Okay. The marathon doesn't care. And the way I see it, the way I'd like to see it, neither does this country, because the marathon is a race. It has a start line, it has a finish line, and it doesn't matter who or what you are. You cross the same start line, you cross the same finish line as absolutely everybody else. That you can take that as an analogy for life, from birth to death, start line, finish line. We all start and we all finish. We all start and finish with different times, but that's a marathon. And that's this country. We all start and we all finish. We all have the same miles underneath of us when we think of the country as a race. You're going 26.2 miles. Some people are going to do it faster than others. Some people are going to do it better than others. But whether you're right or left, white or black, pro-choice, pro-life, pro-whatever, we're all covering the same distance. We're all covering life in this country together with a hodgepodge of other people living their lives. And I just kept seeing how just the way we are right now, it really just feels like a race. And the race welcomes everyone. Now, I know not everyone's going to agree with that statement. They're going to be like, well, this, especially with what's going on right now, this isn't welcome in this country, or that's not welcome in this country. I don't see it that way. I see the way that this country was founded, it was for all. Okay, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, justice for all. And that's still how I see it. Anyone can sign up for a marathon and anyone can be an American. Now, granted, easier for some than others. I'll give you that. But it can happen for anyone. Anyone can run, anyone can join. And again, maybe I'm making no sense here. This was just something I thought about just this morning on a run. But, it kind of made me smile. It's like, how can I think about the 4th of July? Well, I can think about it like a race. And since I do this podcast and I love talking about races, I can just equate it this way. And just by saying the race doesn't care. The race is there for everyone. It is there for everyone from any walk of life. And we all can do this race together. And that's how I see it. Okay. This country can be for everyone. I will argue that it is for everyone. Again, your opinions are your opinions and I value them. These are mine. And call me right, call me wrong, call me whatever, just call me when dinner's ready, whatever the expression was. But that's kind of where I'm at on this subject. So I still think we're the greatest country ever. And I think it's still the greatest race that life can offer. And I wanted to throw that out there. Maybe it helps, maybe it doesn't, but maybe if we can all see that we still have far more in common than we do differently, maybe it'll help. Maybe it'll help. I'm not saying I'm starting some big movement here, because I'm not. But for all of you good folks listening, I appreciate it. Of course, hopefully this helps you. And if we can all just find a little love in our heart, because really think about it, when you're at the start line of a race and you're standing next to a person, you don't care. Like, you don't care if they're a different political party than you, or if they are a different religion than you, or if they believe in religion, or if they don't believe in religion, or if they're, for this, against that. You don't care. You guys are at the same start line. If you catch eyes with them, you're going to smile and nod. You might even say hello. Y'all might even do the little warm-ups together. You have no idea what their walk of life is, but they are there to do the same race as you. They're going to cover the exact same mileage that you're going to cover. And you know what? If you finish near the same person, you're going to high five them at the end. That's where I'd like to see. We are all trying to just make it through life together. We can make it easy on each other. We can make it more difficult. Or you know what? We can just high five when we see them. And that's going to be Kyle's big epiphany. You know what? Let's just high five at the finish line and give each other a little bit of a break. So that's it. Hey, maybe that made no sense. Maybe that was just the lamest comparison you've ever heard in your life. And maybe you go to Facebook and unlike the show. I don't know. I hope that's not the case. But you know what? If you want to retort or agree, or if you have a different opinion, I'd love to know what it is. I really would. This is what I used to do on an old podcast of mine. I'd give out my thoughts and opinions on something, and people could say, oh, that's great. I'm glad you think this. Here's what I think. And I would share them, because I'm not saying I'm right. And I'm not saying I'm wrong. I'm just saying I have my thoughts. You have yours. What are yours? I'd love to hear them. That's going to do it for this episode of the Back of the Pack podcast. Thank you for listening to me drone on. Of course, as I'm running along and I'm having this conversation in my head, it sounds like, pure gold. as I sit in front of a microphone, thankfully after a nice shower. Maybe it made no sense at all. I don't know. And if it made no sense, my producer's going to tell me anyway, and then I'll know. So next weekend, we're going to be out at the Gardner Police Department Law Dog 5K and 10K. I'll be doing the 10K. The back of the Packettes, as I call my daughters, they will be out there as well. They're doing the 10K. If you're in the Gardner area, you should come out. Should be a fun morning. Of course, it's going to be hot. It's going to be so hot. Who would have thought that running in the Midwest in July was going to be warmly? That's just shocking to me. So we'll be there, and we will, of course, as usual, after the race, we'll have the write-up put on the website. That's www.backofthepackpodcast.com. All the pictures I take at a race, and then a post-race write-up, and even a rating system, our sneaker rating system. That's all out there on the website, so please feel free to check it out. You can subscribe and get notified when a new blog post is available. So I don't know. I like to write things up. I hope you enjoy them. But anyway, my name is Kyle Walker. My pleasure as always. This show is produced by Katie O'Neill, all under the banner of OKKC Sports. We will see you next week, and everybody have a great week of training. It's getting hot here in Kansas, so please, please, please hydrate and be super careful. Listen to your bodies. Don't push yourselves too hard. But it's officially training season. I'm in it now, day one of the 12-week training program. It's training season, so let's get out there and get this thing done. Have a great rest of your week, everybody. We'll see you next weekend.